That's right, it is Thursday afternoon, and we're here in the studio. For what reason, I have no idea. Anyway, this is the Now, where we talk about some current events, news, stuff, weird stuff that's going on in the world. Joining me tonight is Mr. Max Too Unholy, His Unholiness, and Mr. Harsh Med, co-owner of CSHR Radio and the Harsh Reality with Harsh Med. So I'd like to welcome you two guys to the show.
I can't wait to get canceled tonight. This is going to be great.
Tonight's topic of discussions is discussions of war and the types of wars that are being currently fought in the world, mainly the Ukrainian and Russian war that has been going on now for 2 years. 2 years. It's actually entering into its third year now.
Who's counting?
Well, I mean, since 2014 with the Crimea incident, but that was, that conflict kind of went away, for lack of a better way of calling it. But yeah, it's going into year 3. This current invasion is going into year 3. And Russia has some very serious loss numbers. And that's very lopsided thing. So Russia's supposed to be a superpower, right? Why is it taking them so long to defeat such a small country like Ukraine? And is this just a precursor to show that Russia's really not a superpower anymore?
Well, to be fair, there's so many different sides in that war. It's kind of weird. It's not just really Russia versus Ukraine. It's Ukraine and the Western powers against Russia and some of their allies. So that's kind of why it's such a mess. But that being said, I mean, if that's what's the case with what's going on in Russia, then yeah, that's very alarming for them. That being said, I don't know how true that is because.
Well, I mean, look at what's.
I keep getting conflicting reports on the.
Yeah, look what's happening though. Basically, I mean, you have the NATO nations are donating enough to Ukraine just to keep Russia at the point where they're just exhausting resources now at this point. Yeah. Their entire brand new fleet of T-90 tanks has been pretty much wiped out. They're using tanks from World War II now, or World War II era tanks. Some of these tanks have been ran since the 60s.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's going on? Russia's already decided to move a lot of their naval fleet out of the Black Sea because Ukraine, a country with no navy, has been sinking their ships.
Well, that is true because I've heard Max, what do you want to say about this before?
I was just going to say, listening to this right now is about as funny as it took how long to find some men hiding in caves.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this isn't our war front. I mean, this isn't our war. So
you're exactly right on that. I'm not saying it as in action on America's side. I'm just finding the whole concept overall it seemed to be one war after another. And it's always the most drawn out, elongated bullcrap. Like you just said it yourself. They're staging all of this with obsolete, out-of-date weapons.
No, that's Russia. Russia's only doing that because they've ran out of their new tech. Yeah. Ukraine has literally destroyed everything that they have.
Here's the bigger question on that, though. And looking at it a little sideways, right? How big is Ukraine?
It's not very big at all. It's about a half the size of Texas.
Okay. So you mean to tell me a hole in the mud over there in Europe got the biggest superpower in Europe on the ropes right now, gassed out?
Pretty much. They have managed to sink.
Yeah.
They have managed to sink over 1/3 of the Russian fleet in the Black Sea. This is a country that has no navy.
Okay, so hold on. Okay, so if we playing Battleship, I got ships. You don't got ships. How in the bejesus are you sinking my battleships if you ain't got no ships?
They're using these little drones. They fly them out there and drop bombs on top of the ships, and they sink. These guys with these drones, these little kamikaze drones that they have, took out an entire radar installation on the northern front of
So
their border.
let's take a second here, right? We gotta laugh at the comedy of this. You mean to tell me that this country is getting their tails handed to them and getting big, massive, expensive ships sunk and destroyed by a bunch of guys with some radio-controlled planes?
Pretty much. That's basically what's happening right now.
Whoever training their armed forces, kill them now.
See, I wanna
Whoever
get back
doing
to
their
this
training,
right here.
kill them.
See, Hoey says they're breaking their GDP. Yeah, you have to understand what's happening right now is that Russia's literally in the process of converting over to a full war economy. They do not have the resources to maintain it. They're already fighting with outdated equipment. Literally outdated equipment. Their only super carrier, well, their only aircraft carrier, super carrier, and I can't think of the name of it right now, has been in dry dock for over a year trying to get repaired. And then half the time when it is out on the water, they have to tow it around with tugboats. It will not run half the time.
All right. Well,
So, and as far as the GDP is concerned, what a lot of people don't understand, everybody's wanting to be scared of their nuclear weapons. Our maintenance budget, we don't even have as many nuclear weapons as Russia, okay? Now, take that with a grain of salt, because our maintenance budget just for our nuclear weapons is more than Russia's entire defense budget. Half of those missiles probably won't even live around, and if they do, they're not going to do anything.
well, I know nukes aren't going to be involved in this war anyway.
I'm gonna be
I don't
honest.
think they would be involved in any war.
No,
I don't
'cause it all takes
honestly-
eight to blow up the world. So
As much as like there's so much propaganda about like nuclear weapons, I'm gonna be honest. I can't really see anybody actually ever pulling a trigger on a nuclear bomb because you're gonna alter the course of the whole world.
all right.
Not
It'd be
necessarily.
like,
What's
Well-
going to happen is they're going to try to fire off a nuclear weapon, and I see it coming. And then the NATO countries are just going to erase them.
Yeah, but the thing is, it only takes 8 nuclear weapons. With the types of nukes that are there now, it only takes 8 of them to destroy the entire world. It's not like the old nukes from the 40s.
No, I understand that, but again, you have to think about Russia here and their lack of maintaining things. If anything, they'll wind up nuking themselves, if the bomb even works.
But
I mean, I've
I
already
will-
seen countless videos of their own missile battery firing off, and the missiles actually coming back and hitting them.
Right. Well, the only thing I know is that I have been hearing a lot less about like supporting Ukraine or how important Ukraine is, and hearing a lot less about the Chinese backing. Like I haven't even heard anything. I haven't heard the Chinese saying anything positive about Russia lately. So that's how I know something's up with that conflict. That's how I know like Russia is not completely at a full level. Yeah, Russia hasn't been a superpower since like the 50s, really. That's when they're at their peak. I mean, yeah, now they're better off than they were back in the 90s, but I don't know what that means because they were kind of
Better off how, though? Better off economically? They're not better off military-wise.
No, in the 90s it was like the wild wild west over there. It was basically just the Russian mafia doing whatever it wanted while Boris Yeltsin was dancing and getting drunk. Dancing and getting drunk to the polka or whatever they danced to in Russia. Like it was a mess. Like Russia in the
The polka.
90s was a mess.
Now Polish people hate Russians. You know better than that. They wouldn't be dancing to the polka.
I don't know, whatever the music they listen to over there. All I know is
Opa.
he was a. Pardon?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah. The bottom line is Boris Yeltsin wasn't all the way there, and Russia was a complete mess. To the point where they were in the '96 election. I remember their '96. They were trying to bring back the USSR when the Communist Party almost won the election. And then of course the U.S. meddled in their elections and made sure Yeltsin had another 4 years. But the point being is that they were a mess back then.
I mean, but the thing is if you watch Putin and how he tries to rule, it's almost like he's trying to get back to before the Bolsheviks,
right?
Where they had tsars and there, it was a Russian Empire and all that. That's actually how he's acting, like he wants to be a dictator.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of always been in their blood because everyone talks about the Politburo and the USSR. They overtook the Bolshevik. They overtook like the czars and all that. But at the end of the day, they were still living like the czars too. Have you seen some of their old offices? Like what the? Like what is this?
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
They never got out of their mindset. It's just they changed labels and names. Max,
random question: what was it like in the 1920s?
In the 20s?
Mm-hmm.
That was before the revolution. I mean, they were imperial force then. The Russian Empire.
Probably the same way it was in the 90s when there was a shift of power. Because remember, they overthrew them in 17. The 20s, that's when Lenin and Stalin were trying to build something. So yeah, there was probably in flux as well. Not as bad as the 90s, though. I don't think it might have been. I don't know.
The reason
because their education and technology is so backwards, it's not even funny.
The reason I ask that is like in certain areas of like society, you'll see like time eras come in cycles.
Yeah.
It'd be like the 20s is kind of like one of the cycles of and popping up a couple places. That's what made me even ask that question.
Right.
Like look back at Russia at 1920 and then see, be like, look and see what it looked like today.
I don't see Putin bringing back something that looks like communism. I see him bringing back more of like a singular government like it was before communism.
Right. Well, Putin, I think, we also have to remember, Putin's like, he's in year 25. Like, Putin is trying to just keep like control of what he has left. He's not trying to, cause, instability like they had 30 years ago, or in Max's case, bringing up the 20s, 100 years ago. But that being said, from what I've noticed is like the last, like every 75 or 80 years or so, it seems like the Russians try to reinvent their government one way or the other. So who knows? Maybe once Putin dies and his offspring get tired of running the country, it could be, 35, 40 years from now, it'll be another rebuild over there. Who knows?
So what do you see happening? Do you see, I mean, ultimately this conflict has to have some type of resolution eventually. Do you see, the U.S. or the Western powers getting involved in that, or do you see Russia eventually just running out of resources?
Well, the Western powers are already involved in it either blatantly.
I'm not talking about just giving them stuff to fight with. I'm talking about actual boots on the ground. Like our military presence, the whole 9 yards. War.
Maybe some of the mercenaries from the Western powers, but I don't see like a full-fledged war in that case.
I don't see the public supporting that.
No.
Well, you see, and that's where it gets kind of funny because public opinion right now is, go ahead, get rid of the Reds.
All right. Well, one, there's that, but two, you also have to remember. The Russians were feeling a lot more confident about what's going on over there when they had the backing of the Chinese, because they had the East versus West mentality. Now that the Chinese are just, not apathetic toward the whole conflict, I don't know. I don't know, because right now, outside of, certain mercenary groups here or there, I don't really see the Western powers being more involved than they've already been involved. So,
do you think China might become a key player in that?
They were earlier, but then for some reason they just never really
Well, and I mean, I
Right.
can give you the reason why, because China's military just looks good on paper. I mean, they have a lot of people. That's about all they have. They do not have the technology. They don't have, I mean, they literally just, their own only super carrier that they, well, their only aircraft carrier, period, they bought as a piece of rust from the Ukraine and built into an aircraft carrier.
Well, I also think the Chinese aren't. I also think the Chinese, even though Natsky says the Chinese and Russia are allies, she also says China's in the Pacific and Australia pull off some shady. Yeah, the Chinese are focused on other things. They're not focused on this. They could care
Yeah,
less.
China's
they're
traditionally, but you have to understand China's positioning in the world itself. Where China's located, they're just naturally nice to their neighbors. Doesn't
Not
necessarily mean they're allies.
Oh no, that's true. Because I remember in the '70s, the Chinese and Russians couldn't stand each other, even though they both were, communist countries at the time.
Yeah, in Taiwan, yeah, but it's been a conflict for the last 100 years.
Right. Well, I mean, the Chinese. I mean, I don't want to defend the Chinese because they really don't care about anybody else, and they want to be an economic. They already are an economic superpower when you think about it. But what I will say is the U.S. and Chinese have had their little Cold War battles going on in the South Pacific Sea for a long time. Like both of those militaries take turns doing all sorts of military drills. So.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I see North Korea trying to help Russia more than China would. Honestly.
All right. Well, the only reason, yeah.
I don't really see China giving Russia too much help. I think they're just being nice to them because that's their neighbors. China traditionally, militarily wise, even during wars, were pretty neutral.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Right.
the basic fact that 80% of their diet is seafood. Yeah, I could see that.
Right.
Yeah, but that's been going on for so long. I don't see that doing anything. And plus, Taiwan's already got allies on our side anyway. So, I mean, it would be kind of... It would, but they could easily mobilize 100,000 troops and send them over there. Very easily.
What, the North Koreans?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think the North Koreans are going to do anything without China's permission. They usually don't.
I don't know.
They don't act.
I don't know.
They don't act like that without China giving them the green light. If the Chinese are like, "Yeah, North Korea, we've had your back for years. Do us this solid in Ukraine," they'll do it. If not, then no. But that being said, I'm not gonna. I mean, I know you think like I know you're certain that the Russian and Chinese militaries and their governments are shady and shady and they're weak, but I can't completely dismiss their militaries right now. I can't dismiss their powers. Like I can't sit there and say, yeah, they're wobbly, they're going to be done, and all this other stuff. Like it just.
I mean, they're using T-50s in war right now. In a war, the T-50 went out of service in 1960.
Yeah.
That's what they're having to use because their entire tank fleet is gone.
All right.
That should tell you something.
Fire the training officers. Fire everybody in the training position. Fire them.
It just seems like they're fighting with tactics from 1920 or 1918.
I'm just saying, if I run the country and you lead my military, and you come to tell me all my battleships got sunk by some people with some toy airplanes, I will cut your heads off.
So bottom line, Max, who do you see being the overcoming winner of this war in the Ukraine?
Whoever the big banks finance.
All right, Harshman, what do you think?
I mean, I'd have to go with Max on this, but especially with the way, I mean, it depends. I mean, Holy kind of brings up a good point. When Russia cuts off the gas to Europe, then it will be an issue. So I think I think so far it's the Western powers, but Russia always has that one final wild card to play. So
Like Russia better chill out before America do them like they did Iraq.
well, and if they do that, then we'll get a worse version of Putin 15 years later. So just FYI.
Just saying, you know why America went over there. Daddy Bush started all that ruckus for some oil.
That he did, and that's the same reason why the U.S. also funded the Taliban in the late 70s.
But at the same time, he didn't finish the job because he only did what the UN allowed him to do.
Right. You're right.
As soon as that objective was over, no, he didn't. Because if you finished
I said you're right. I said you're right. He didn't. His son came in some years. His son came in some years later and cleaned up.
No, that is not how it happened. What originally happened was the war in Iraq was fought. Bush Sr. did what the UN told him he could do, and as soon as that operation was over, and as soon as they left Kuwait, the war was over, and he left. The thing is our Bush Jr. went over there on false pretenses on the guise of weapons of mass destruction.
Hey, that's what to do what his dad didn't do. That's what.
Oh no, my signal might pop for.
All right, no, I see what Max is trying to say though. He finished the job that his dad really wanted to do, not what the UN was allowing him to do.
Right.
Hello. Everybody brings that point up, right?
We're still here.
Here is an observation, and maybe I'm looking too much, but at the same time, that's the time era when like doctors were going buck wild with prescribing opiates.
No,
if you look, go ahead.
Yeah.
The opioid epidemic was a government-generated thing to start off with. I don't care what anybody says. You can't allow doctors to write all of these scripts for so long and then all of a sudden go, oh, God, we have an epidemic now. We need to stop these guys from writing scripts. The government is the reason we have a heroin and fentanyl epidemic.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, where is opium native to? Where's the poppy native to?
China.
And where else?
Afghanistan.
If it walked like a duck, it sound like a duck, and it quacked like a duck, it might just be a duck. It's two things over there in Afghanistan.
See, yeah,
oil
that's
and opium.
Right.
That's a stretch. I mean, that is a very big stretch.
Well, because you also have to remember. No, go, Scott. What were you gonna say before I quote?
I mean, yeah, we probably went over there for oil. I mean, I'm not gonna give anybody that when it comes to that, but as poppies and oils are concerned, yeah, Afghanistan has them, but they don't really have enough to deal in a volume. If that makes any sense.
Right.
And if the government was that worried about that type of thing, they would still be letting it go crazy.
Right. Well,
they wouldn't have cut it off the way they did.
Right. Well, all I know is that former General Wesley Clark once said the U.S. had a plan at the beginning of the 2000s to take out, whether 9/11 happened or not, to take out 7 countries in 5 years. And three of those countries are Afghanistan, Iraq, and of course Syria. So, and Libya.
I was gonna say, what Libya in that list?
Yeah, it was Iraq, Syria, Libya, Lebanon, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. So
crazy too. Go ahead.
Hope thinks Russia's gonna win. Moving on to the next topic, and it's one of Harsh's favorites, is the war in Israel and Palestine.
I'm so sick and tired of the pro-Israel people. I really am. It's like, stop being slaves. Stop being mental slaves. My God.
I quit paying attention. Go ahead.
No, Max, what are you going to say before I go get myself canceled in a few seconds?
I was going to say, like, a while ago, once I learned that Israel just became a country that they just like went over there and said, "Oh, we're claiming this land in 1967 or
It
somewhere
wasn't
thereabouts."
67. It was in the 40s.
40s and
So they-
67, they took it all over. Right.
Yeah, in 67, that's whenever they took everything over.
Yeah.
at that point, I just kind of looked at the whole concept of Israel like that's false. How y'all gonna tell the people that was already there this is your promised heritage homeland? No wonder the people in Palestine so mad. I'd be mad too.
Right.
You want to hear something funny? And this is the
Yeah.
craziest thing that a lot of people fail to they fail to remember it because it doesn't fit their narrative. But the people of Palestine, before it was Israel and Palestine and this, that, and the other, whatever they want to
Right.
call it today, the people of Palestine, it was a pretty peaceful country before Israel. They had
Oh.
Jewish and Muslim people living next door to each other that were very close friends. They owned shops next door to each other. They didn't fight with each other.
Right.
Oh, so wait a
And
minute. So they not
the
only
Allied
came.
forces went in
It
there
was.
and scooped up all of these German Jewish people and threw them over there and said, "Here, this is your country. Do whatever you want, and here's all the money you can have."
Oh, so wait a minute. Not only did they come with a bogus land
German,
claim, but they
Polish,
came
all-
disturbing the peace.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, Israel got to go. Israel
Yes.
got to go.
Right. Well, this is all I need to know. 97% of the people, according to a John Hopkins study, 97% of the people in Israel have no roots to the land. They're from other parts of Europe. So that just
And
tells
my
you
question is what is the reason? And I've never heard a straight answer whenever I ask this question to anyone. Why do we need to protect Israel? What is the true reason for us to protect that country? Why do we need to protect them? Is it because that's our social experiment that's failing now? Is that why we need to protect them? Or is it some kind of religious fanaticism that says we need to protect these people? That's my
which
question.
is ironic. Which is ironic because if you want to look at the religious fanaticism aspect, they don't like the Gentiles. If you're a Christian and they're if you're a Christian, the quote unquote chosen people want nothing to do with you. You're their sheep. You're their pig. You're just sent to slaughter. You're not anything important. If you're not one of the chosen people, they don't look at you as anything important.
Yeah, but that's not what caused the fight, Netsky. What caused the fight is that they literally went in there and took all of the Muslims and said, "You're no longer allowed to live here anymore.
Yeah.
We don't care about your family land. We don't care about your store that you have on the street corner over here. We don't care about your lives. We don't care about your family. Get out."
Right.
And that's the major problem. And that's why the Palestinians have been mad ever since. And Israel systematically tries to squeeze them into smaller areas, and then they don't understand why they keep attacking them. Well, I'm sorry. There's only so many people that could fit in a box. After a while, those people start to get angry.
Right.
If you come put me out of my home, displace me somewhere else, and tell me, "Oh well, ain't nothing I can do about it," I'm gonna smile and plot how to hit my lick back just like they did.
Right.
And, well, Hoey, the reason they do it is because they support Palestinians, and the United States wants to support Israel, which is essentially becoming a nation that they literally ran away from after World War II.
Right.
They ran away from the Nazis, and they're becoming fascist themselves.
Right.
Literally.
And Hoey, if you're upset about the Palestinian supporters doing that to the flag, you should be even more upset that none of your politicians can even get a look. That your country is literally creating anti-Semitism laws that infringe on your right to free speech, saying that if you criticize Israel, you can be punished for anti-Semitism. They're literally the U.S. Congress has just, the House of Representatives had a super majority in agreement with that. That's how disturbing that is. So if you're upset about, the flags being down and flying because of taking down the Stars and Bars flag because of what the Palestinians, you should be outraged. And you should also be outraged that most of your elected politicians can't even get into office.
You cut out, Harsh.
Of course I did. And can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And most of your and none of your politicians can ever get elected into office at the federal level unless they suck up to AIPAC. So you really, if you're upset about protesters taking out the Stars and Bars, you should be upset that your country is basically.
And at the same time, why aren't you upset at the people who take down the American flag to fly their own country's flag while they're here in the United States? Because it's not just Palestinians that do that. Go to a Mexican neighborhood. Go to a Latino neighborhood. You'll see more Mexico flags than you will in the United States, but they're not in New Mexico, are they? Nope. I don't like this whole thing about the flag thing because too many people are they practice too much hypocrisy with it. It's not okay for someone else to fly their flag, but it's completely okay for all of these other people to do it.
Right.
It's not how it works. If it's not okay for one section of people, it's not okay for anyone.
Yeah, there is a video I kind of want to play in regards to how people in Israel.
We're not licensed for videos, sir.
Okay. I know we're not because we'll get shut down. I know we're going to get shut down, so I'm not going to play it. But yeah, I mean, I think the president of Egypt once said, President Anwar, he once said, of course there's going to be. Hold on, I'm gonna get the quote to make sure I got it right.
Oh.
So while Harsh is grabbing that quote, just to touch on the subject of the flag, I ain't never respected the flag. I'm gonna be dead honest. So when I was younger, I did some reading, and when I read a bit of information about the War of 1812, I ain't got no respect for the flag.
Yeah, but you're basing something off of something that happened almost 200 years ago. Well, over 200 years ago.
To me, that flag is a symbol. To me, that flag symbolizes a time when freedom could have been gained and it was squashed.
Well, it means the same thing during the days of the Civil War. Same thing the days of independence.
Yeah.
It still represents. But at the same time, it still represents all of the veterans that fought for this country to maintain our freedom.
No shade. Listen, no shade toward the veterans. I mean, I've got a good friend that's a veteran. My brother's a veteran. No shade to the veterans themselves. As somebody that's just done reading about things, just like when people bring up the Civil War, right? Let's call a spade a spade. Abraham Lincoln didn't wage the war because of slavery. Slavery was just a main subtopic.
It was over money.
I mean, the South was like, we ain't rocking with y'all up north no more. We're doing our own thing. The North wasn't trying to have that. And if you look into Lincoln's personal writings, his plan was to free the slaves and basically do the same thing that they did with Israel and Palestine. He wanted to ship the
whole thing was over money, and the whole abolishment of slavery was a political decision.
Right.
Had nothing to do with the war.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'm glad he brought the Israel-Palestine thing because the late great former president Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt once said, the president of Egypt from way back when, he once said, the Jews left here. The Jews left here in Kingdom.
Yep.
The Jews left when they were black and they became white.
Yeah, Howie, it was. It was basically because the North realized they cannot succeed agriculturally without the South.
Right.
It was all over money.
Right. But the bottom line is the people in Israel aren't even the actual chosen ones. They're basically imposters. For a lot without that's my version of being politically correct. There's a word that
You
starts
know,
with a G, which they should be called, but we won't use it on the air.
I'm gonna love this video. Harsh stated a truth that I didn't even have to state.
Right.
Which is what?
The Jews
The
left
quote
here
he
black
just
and came back white. That's what happened. And then we wonder why. And then they wonder why they get kicked out of 109 countries.
the whole world knows that Israel's an imposter.
What I
We're
don't
the only-
understand is
Right.
why we're so desperate to protect these people when they chastise us every chance they get.
Right. That I don't get why the people are like that. I get why the powers that be are like that. Because the same people that control Israel are the same people that control America. That's
No,
why
you're
I'm
right.
so-
Hoey, you're right. I see extreme Islamists doing that, not Muslims.
Yeah, but I also see the people that they
I also
that they
see
support
The
doing that.
Jewish rabbis digging tunnels all over the place under New York City.
Oh,
Seeing those stained mattresses they had in those tunnels.
right. Oh, wait, you're also forgetting one thing. The Israeli government is supporting the quote unquote Islamic terrorist groups like Hamas and ISIS. That's why Netanyahu was under fire in 2019 for doing that. So if you say, hey, Harsh, do you see the Jews cut people heads off? No, but the people they're supporting are doing that. So what's the difference? I mean, this is public knowledge. Benjamin Netanyahu was under fire in 2019 because through two different countries, he was financially supporting Hamas. So the idea of saying, oh, well, but do you see the Jews cutting off the heads? No, but I see the Jews supporting people doing that. So what's the difference?
Well, to be fair, we support all forms of terrorism if you pay taxes.
Hey. I wish I could not pay taxes. Darn it. They automatically take that out my check along with child support. I don't get no say in taxes and child support.
Right. I mean, I'm just tired of these. I'm just tired of living in a world run by imposters and frauds.
Bruh, I just tune the world out and put music in my ears.
I know that's kind of where I'm at too, because you know what's the worst part as an Indian person when I have to deal with this crap? It's like I know for a fact that the quote unquote fake chosen people look at us as the good ones with melanin. Like, oh look, L'chaim, it's our Hindu slaves that are going to do our dirty work in South Asia.
I mean, I kind of agree with Hoey right here. Hoey says, I don't care either way. That region is always fighting, and that's true. Those people will never be happy with each other, ever.
No, their politics are bloody, but that being said, they'll be a lot less bloody once the powers that be once the Western powers that be are out of the way. They
absolutely attack their own people.
Right.
Hamas has not had any type of modern technology whatsoever, and then all of a sudden a few missiles hit Israel that they're not capable of building. How does that work?
Right. Exactly.
Tyler Johnson, Hoey equates the entire nation of Israel to a trailer park in Alabama.
Wow.
Sweet home Alabama.
Netsky says they fight over goats over there.
L'chaim.
Do they fight over the goats, or what are they going to do with the goat?
So,
Too much of a
I've always pictured Arabic people fighting over goats. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
I thought it was
He's always had
camels.
that thought.
I did. Okay,
No,
so listen. Years
Goats don't
ago,
run away as fast.
I used to have this under the table job working for this Arabic store owner, and that job gave me a taste of what slavery was like because he really worked me from sun up till sundown.
Habibi, you must work here. Habibi, you must work there. Habibi, you must go. Habibi, you must do this. Habibi, you must do that. Habibi, we don't have time for that. Habibi, you must.
That
Why
man
are you
worked
on
me.
your phone again?
Yep. Why are you sitting down? Like, bro, I've been up on this roof for 7 hours. I'm drinking something.
No, you can't drink something. Habibi, you must work.
What do you mean it's dark? You can't see anymore.
Oh,
Get back up
God. Like, bruh, you ain't paying me enough for this type of labor. Hold on. We need to go on the books.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if you grew up in a country where it was like 260 degrees at night,
Yeah.
you know, heat wouldn't really bother you either.
No, it wouldn't.
I mean,
guess so,
their
but my belief is
their
just-
heat gets hot.
Yeah.
that's there. This is here. Welcome to America. We don't got to work like that, cuz.
Their desert
be
gets
fair,
so hot that they use sand to pop popcorn with.
Yeah.
They don't even use oil.
No. It's too. No, I mean, but then again, they probably have a culture shock the minute it dips under like 50 degrees. So, you know.
Hypothermia
both
at 50
ways.
degrees. 60 degrees outside. Poor guy's got hypothermia.
Yeah.
Hoey said he made one comment about Hillary Clinton and his entire page locked up on his other account.
That's kind of what
See?
happens sometimes. Knowing
She's
how
trying
old
to
he is.
delete you like she deleted her emails.
And like 50 other people. We won't get about that.
Hey, no, that lady, she go down as a goat in history. She got on live news and bragged about executing the man.
Yeah.
And then,
Yes.
and then bungled a whole security operation overseas and passed the buck so wonderfully.
Look, I just think it's funny that we've endured so much after the past 2 administrations that we have had in office with COVID, these wars and everything else, that when the United States decided to declassify documents stating the actual existence of UFOs and aliens, nobody batted an eye. They were just like, okay, cool, whatever.
Pretty much. That's what happens.
This
It's like,
has gotten so screwed up, nobody even noticed.
no. Yeah, I mean, but to go on the point, I'm glad you brought up Hillary and Libya because that shows you that, for all the talk about, oh, Islam is this, Islam is that, and believe me, I'm not a pro-Muslim type. I'm Hindu. I'm an alcoholic. Very apathetic. I like eating bacon. I'm not someone who wants to get on my knees to pray 5 times a week, let alone 5 times a day. Not my religion. That being said, the Middle East was a heck of a lot peaceful 100 years ago, between like 100 years ago and 200 years ago, before Western power started fucking up that region. And one of the examples
absolutely.
I can think of is Hillary Clinton with Libya.
In Benghazi.
Yeah. Especially Libya. That's like when, they basically turned Libya from a stable dictatorship that was like pseudo benevolent and pseudo cutthroat to legalized a place of like chaos and legalized slave trading.
That's because Gaddafi was about
And
to
what
throw
gets
the
me,
Yeah.
she didn't even hide what she did,
Right.
and nobody batted an eye at it.
Nobody cared.
Right. And I was like, big deal. But Max, you were saying something about what Gaddafi was trying to do in regards to the dollar.
Oh, yeah. See, they ain't like Gaddafi's plan. Gaddafi was about to tell America to shove that dollar where the sun don't shine.
Yeah.
Well, they've been trying that for years.
Yeah.
For years, they've been trying that. Every time it
They
gains
use it-
momentum, another country screws up and it falls out of kilter.
So
again.
all y'all BRICS supporters, y'all supporting the wrong type of BRICS, darn it.
You need to build up the country with BRICS, not use it as economic forum.
All white BRICS.
All white BRICS.
God.
Don't be racist on our show.
No, Scott, you
No,
can
that
stop
wasn't a
trying.
race joke. That was a different type of joke.
Scott, you
This
do not
is a
even.
word from Max Too Unholy, our resident white supremacist, who is
No.
also an African American.
Yeah, our
Scott, white BRICS is a street reference. That was not
I
even
know.
racial.
I know.
Max is being Max is being our local farmer, apparently. Our local farm open.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just being a low grade middleman.
Oh my god.
Max is building houses out of white bricks.
But, now that I think about it, Scott, now that I think about it, what if, as crazy as it's going to sound, because you brought up bricks and you brought up the Ukraine and Russia conflict earlier, what if the Russians are taking their foot off the gas in regards to Ukraine so they can focus on bricks with China and the rest of the powers? The rest of the
I don't
people out east.
think that's the case, because this is a territorial war for Russia. Okay.
Right, but
They have major ports in Ukraine that they want. They have all of these things that they want. And these people have gotten only 20 kilometers worth of land out of it so far.
right. Well,
So I don't see, if they were truly as powerful as everybody likes to believe they are, they would have went in there and just wiped everybody out.
Yeah, but see, I don't know if they're playing chess. I don't know if they're playing like 3 or 4D chess, or if they're as wiped out as you say they are when it comes to stuff like that. Now, Holy
Okay,
says,
well, if that was the
people-
case, why would they allow themselves to lose over 3,000 of their tanks? Why would they allow a third of their Black Sea fleet to be sunk? Why would
That I
they
don't-
lose hundreds of thousands of military personnel?
that I don't know. But what I do know is that things aren't always what we see on the surface. Now, Hoey says, see, people think Obama did wrong. Outside of like old liberals, who thinks that about Obama?
Hold on.
Most people
Hold
think
on.
he's a failure and a disappointment.
Obama doesn't even rank as a conversation point.
Right.
All the Obama administration was a house Negro put in the office to get the votes from the field Negro, and come to find out he wasn't even an authentic house Negro.
No, he wasn't. Obama
We
doesn't
should just
sound- yeah.
see. I'm okay with this statement right here. Should we just airdrop weed so they all chill out? Yes.
Yes,
I'm-
yes. Bring the gas. Let's go.
Right.
Yes, Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State.
Right. And as for Obama, I don't even think he was. I don't think he was African or black. He sounded Indonesian. If you've listened to an Indonesian speak, and you listen
Man,
to
that man
Obama-
was a test tube baby. That's why they kept coming up with all them weird birth certificates to hide it.
right. The way he sounds, he does not sound like an American. He doesn't sound like an African. Oh, we're already leaving?
No,
Yeah, it's
you were
9
late.
o'clock.
Oh,
You were late.
Anyway, Obama sounds like an Indonesian. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. He does not sound like anything. But yes, anyway, we will check that interview out how we watch the Tucker Putin interview. You know, I've seen a lot of it. It's rather fascinating. And on that note, if we're still able to be on social media tomorrow, we're going to have the CSHR Radio Friday Night Random Happening. Or is it going to be more of a news show? I don't know.
I don't know
Anyhow.
yet. It depends on who all shows up.
We thank one of my favorite people in the entire world, Max, for Gun Holiness, for joining the show. And we also thank my favorite cartoon character in the entire world, Scott Ryan Christopher Studio, for joining
Oh,
us.
Lord.
Beautiful Thursday night.
There we go,
Take
calling
care,
people
everyone.
out
Have
of
a
their
great
names
rest of your
again.
I'm too strong to make a fall.
Take care. Have a great rest of